Hello, I'm Jochen Schleese, founder of Saddlefit for Life. Welcome back to the third webinar of our six-part web series, The Fundamental of Saddlefit. And today we talk about pain and injury in the horse. Many horses have a lot of pain from the equipment, from their training styles, when we started to ride and how we're going to ride. Now, we always had horses as humankind for thousands of years, from agriculture, military to sport and recreation. Today, people have horses as their soulmate, their heart horse, or they have their horse as a sensitive sports partner. And unfortunately, we also have people who own horses as their money-making machine. And sometimes these horses get trained so early when their horse is born and have properly developed. At 15 months or 2 years, they're already in the competition in the Western or English world. So if we look at the maturity line here on this equine skeleton, horses are at that stage only developed on the knee. No wonder the radius and the humerus, the scapula and the spine all deformed. By the time you may buy this horse as a hunter jumper horse or inventing horse or as a pleasure horse, because these horses often come very deformed from the track or from the previous training while the skeleton was still developed. Or you have a horse what has been trained, started at 3, with an ill-fitting saddles. See, horses are masters of disguise, and they will form and deform in order to go. That's in their nature. So what happens if the horse is uneven? Okay, the natural unevenness is not that natural, it's man-made. And with 260,000 horses I have measured over the last 45 years, it's unbelievable what kind of data I have collected. And I see it all the time. The saddle falls to the left or to the right, and you continue training this horse. Why do you think the horses develop so uneven? Look at the bottom right here on this picture. You know how the humerus compared to the left side versus the right side. Or the horse has the first and second rib grown and calcifies together. On the bottom left, you see the 2 or 3 ribs, the first and the second rib left, and then only 1 rib from the right side. Or you have horse with transitional vertebrae, not too uncommon. Or we have a sport we desire to ride, which can be sometimes very hard on the horses because of the nature of the sport I select. Or one of the worst pet peeves of mine is when people are riding bareback. Once in a while, riding bareback doesn't hurt the horse, but riding every day in treeless saddle or bareback pads or without anything, it's really hard on your back. It's also hard on the horse's back and causes unnecessary long-term damage. Sometimes saddles are designed to put yourself directly over the very, very nasty zone of the horse where the kidneys and ovaries are, the lumbus versus processes, and we put these horses in this false elevation for the enjoyment of mankind rather than for the horse, because the horse you can see on the bottom right often is not comfortable. So too many horses still suffering pain, dealing with unnecessary injury because they get followed by opinions versus scientific facts, or they don't follow the law of nature or sponsorship. It's just madness out there how many horses are in pain. Now, more and more veterinarians have come up with the pain scale, where people can see what that means when the horse's eye looks like this, the ear, etc., etc. And they also understand, we understand, most of the time when the human or the horse goes in pain, they got the muscles, they restrict the mobility, the weakness, the dysfunction, emotional stress. Here's a very simple example. If the muscle is healthy, the blood flows nicely through and brings the oxygen nutrition where it needs to go. But if you have localized pressure, like an ill-fitting saddle or like a bareback rider or treeless saddle, the muscle will fatigue because the oxygen nutrition can't go where it needs to go. Or as I showed you the other picture where the saddle is too long. Clearly here you see that black saddle on top left, I marked it with chalk, sits in the lumbar area. On the bottom right, I circle it for you. You're looking from the back over a horse's croup, the skeleton. And in the red circle, you see the spinal versus processes, how far they stick out. You cannot have pressure there. No wonder your horse once in a while, out of the blue, freaks out and jumps. And we talked about how you ride, how you train. And there's unfortunately a big hoopla hoop about reinventing the wheel. And now we want to ride the horse hyperextension or roll cue also known. This has been shown, too many books, too many videos, and yet people still do it when it's clearly shown how it's damaging the horses long-term, only to put them in injuries and pain where the saddle just follows into it, right? So if your horse have a horse where it's written like C, upside down, we call that, with a hollow back, heavy on the forehand, the tendons don't last long. Never mind about the joint on the croup or in the spine. Okay, you want to ride the horses up with the back open, hind leg underneath to get the weight underneath, get the weight off the front. This article here from 2014, so that's 10 years ago, already has proven and shown if you have isolated pressure on a certain area, the muscle will fatigue and they will have kissing spine and problems. The horse will work, will compensate, will deform, and loses their strength, their power. See less and less horse willingness to go forward. So every time you have these kind of behavior on the horse, look at the horse's development on the bottom. I showed you the back, the loins, and the croup. It's all related to your equipment. Don't wait until your horses look like that or have blisters on the withers or deformity on the spine, or you need spinal surgery. Right? Spinal surgery goes only so far because you cannot open the holes where the nerves come out on the side, and that's most of the time game over. So not necessary anymore with today's research and science and advanced saddle fitting skills. You could acquire, you could get yourself known. You don't have to be a saddle fitter, but you don't have to see and create and treat horses anymore with that deformity. It's absolutely horrible what we do sometimes to horses, just because we don't know what we don't know. You know, these pain and injury are not necessary. The swelling, the dry spots, the white hair, the pain line on the shoulder is not necessary. The damage on the cartilage or on the scapular, you know, just because the saddle slides forward or the metal or the gullet plate doesn't fit in the right angle or width. All these things which can be easily checked before we see all these problems. You know, the elbow of yours has two bones, and between those two bones there's a funny bone. It's actually nerve ending, and if you touch that, it goes all the way to the pinky. And these nerves are like, I always refer that to the funny bones, right? If you hit certain areas on the horse's back, the horse will do stuff you don't like as a rider. So if the wither cup gets pinched, that cranial nerve 11, CN11, okay, will get ignited and the horse doesn't go forward. It drops the shoulder. What happens when the horse drops the shoulder or drops the rib cage into the shoulder? It pinches the ribs right there where the brachial plexus is. And then that pinch, that nerve, travels to the front leg, and now your horse is lame. So we know when the horse's rib cage is dropped, the horse is in pain. When it's natural, it's up. And when I ride properly and the horse is fit, it's even higher. Okay. So the facts about saddle fitting is we cannot have the saddle go forward, because if it goes forward, it hits the lung meridian problem. And now you have a respiratory problem on your horse. Okay, because that point, BL13 here on my diagram, you can see we don't want a saddle pinching that, because then we have unnecessary ulcers on the gut and ulcers in stomach. You know, why would we go all the way to the horse has colic? Why do we wait until the horse has holding line on the flank from the knee right to the saddle or the atrophy? All this is published. All these injuries we know occur. But what I still ask myself, and I still can't get my head around, with all this technologies there's still so much opinion where people believe saddle should bridge. The horse will not bring the back up. Right? On the bottom, you see a skeleton here. When the back is up, the spinal process is all white. But if the saddle sits like the top right, which is a saddle photograph from the bottom with thermography, clearly after riding, you can see the saddle doesn't even sit in the middle, right? It causes highest pressure. The horse will deform. You have problems in the croup, in the pelvis, and the list goes on and on to atrophy and dry spots. And you do not achieve what you're trying to do as a Western rider. If you do sliding stops, if you do a hunter jumper, you want to jump or inventor, right? Or you want to do dressage and do a canter period. You can't get ultimate collection, and you can't get the horse to bring it back up if the saddle doesn't fit or you ride treeless saddles, right? The weight needs to come off the forehand and the back got to come up. Back in the old days, they made saddles with long bars, but the front of the bar, which sticks out in front of the saddle, it calls the front flare. And the back in the saddle underneath the cantle, okay, to the back, calls the back flare. And what do you think flare stands for? It flares away from the cartilage on the top right. I shown you a picture from a horse's skeleton. Red is where the saddle should contact, and then the blue is the cartilage, and then the back behind the red is the lumbar area, where the flare in the front and the back don't contact, right? So we definitely want to concentrate on the contact on the longissimus dorsi in the middle, but not on the cartilage, lung meridian point, or the insertion of the gluteus maximus. So please, please, please find a saddle fitter who understands the why, not just the how. Because remember, the person who knows the how will always follow the person who knows the why. Okay? Make sure they watch you in your current saddle so they can assess your riding style, can assess if you sit in the sex appropriate saddle or the anatomically correct appropriate saddle, if your perpendicular line is there and your balance point is line. Okay, today there's a lot of professionals out there who help you. I flew around the world so many times, been on 5 different continents, surround myself with veterinarians, professors to enhance my knowledge. Please do it to your horse, for your horse. Right? If you are one of the people who have a horse, what is a soulmate or a sponsored, or I should say a competition rider who's sensitive to the horse. Most of the time people who just see horse as a model making machine probably don't look at this webinar or at this app. So educate yourself. There's many good books out there. If you're eager to expand your knowledge and find a solution to fit your saddle fit question, look no further. Our evidence-based saddle fit education offers comprehensive online courses designed to deepen your understanding of anatomically correct saddle fit for you and your horse. So please check us out on saddlefitforlifeacademy.com. Thank you very much. I see you in the next webinar.
For more free educational content, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. Or if you're interested in furthering your education beyond free content, we'd love to chat with you. You can book a call with one of our instructors to learn more about our courses. We offer evidence-based saddle fit education that is online and self-paced, so you can fit it to your own schedule. And we have different courses both for horse owners and riders, as well as for equine professionals, and continuing professional development credit for veterinarians as well. I can't wait to see you in the next video, or maybe even welcome you to the Saddle Fit for Life Academy permanently.